We continue our discussion now around SAA and its funding model. Let's chat very quickly then to COSATU's spokesperson there. It is Sizwe Pamla who joins us on the line. Sizwe, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it this afternoon. We've just spoken to NUMSA as well with regards to their thoughts. Let's very quickly get your thoughts. I mean, it's a crunch week certainly for SAA and that funding model. Just your thoughts. What happens from here on in if SAA doesn't actually get the funding that government has said it would provide?
Well, so firstly, we'll have a big problem with that because you cannot have a government that doesn't honor its own commitment. We are already dealing with that in the public sector. You will remember that a public servant signed a contract in 2018, and now government has reneged on that. So if government fails to actually fund this plan, where government committed itself to say it was going to do everything to honor this plan, then it will be a big problem for us because we don't want to have a situation where we have a government that we cannot trust. Either the government is going to be trusted by workers and South Africans or not. But if they fail to actually come out with a funding model and put the money into the plan that we all collectively developed, then that it will be a problem because firstly, there are workers' livelihoods at stake here. But also, we are going to be losing many opportunities. You are aware that airlines like Ethiopian Airlines, Emirates Airlines and other airlines are interested to actually go into some kind of partnership with South African Airways, especially at a very difficult time for the airline industry. The fact that we have got other airlines who are interested to actually work with South African Airways and we are failing to convince them that we are serious about what we are doing. This is going to cost us because they are going to have to move on. I mean, many countries are starting to reopen, and if they start to reopen, it means that these airlines will have to really leave us behind and start to focus on how they resuscitate their own airlines and focus on actually building their business.
Yeah. Sizwe, let's also then very quickly just talk about those crucial partners that are trying to get involved perhaps in this strategic partnership with SAA then. They keep touting these partnerships, yet we still haven't been able to even put the money forward for the restructuring of SAA. Can we, one, still remain optimistic about this new restructured SAA? And two, are you getting word as to who exactly these equity and strategic partners are that are bound to perhaps help SAA in future?
Well, remember, look, we're talking about a plan that was developed in conjunction with government here, where all stakeholders agreed that first, number one, there is a need to resuscitate SAA. Number two, that we all need to collectively work together to make sure that we develop a funding model, we develop a business model, but we also work together to ensure that workers and other stakeholders are not going to be thrown under the bus. So this is an agreement that we have on the table. Government itself adopted this. The National Cabinet did endorse this. And after it has endorsed it, it made a commitment that it was then going to fund. So we are expecting the National Treasury to make the 3 billion that they promised to all stakeholders available. Because if they fail to make that 3 billion rand available, then it's even difficult to continue to have discussions going forward. We are aware of some other interested individuals, but without government coming in, because the understanding was that we were not privatizing South African Airways. It was that government is going to retain South African Airways as a government entity. So we want government to take the lead. Whoever comes on board, they have to come on board to join a government that has already started to actually implement the plan.
It seems like a complete failing in that regard with regards to leadership then, Sizwe, as well. So it's very difficult to see exactly where the leadership is going to come from, as you make note of there from a government perspective. I certainly hope that this can be resolved sooner rather than later. Sizwe Pamla, thank you so much for the time, though. COSATU spokesperson joining us on the line there as we unpack the SAA saga. The funding saga continues this week, and it's bound to get harder before it gets any easier. It's certainly going to be a difficult one. That concludes things here from the Johannesburg Stock Exchange.